Well, good evening. Glad y'all are here. Um, Pack Romer, welcome in. It's first time here. Glad you're here. And Kimberly's here. How are you this evening, Kimberly? Good morning. Where are you at? Hello, Paula. Thank you for liking. I appreciate it. So, do you have a name, Pack Romer? So, yeah, it was windy here today, so my allergies have kind of kicked up. You're from Pakistan. Well, welcome in. Welcome to my live. And hey, Daryl, how are you doing this evening? That's Fire with Dr. Ninja Turtle. Hi, Cheryl. Everyone's coming in and getting settled. You're happy to be here. Did you set your alarm? So, yes, the wind blew. It was 20 miles an hour today with 30-mile-an-hour gust. It was unreal. So, um, yeah, I'm going to take my ear thing out. I don't need that. You're finishing your meeting. Okay. So, I've had a pretty calm week, which is kind of nice. Last week was hectic. I was really busy, and so I had a relaxing weekend, and um, it's nice to have a little more of a relaxing weekend. And so, Miss Paula, I saw you climbing that hill, walking with that coach of yours. He keeps you on your toes. Great live. Thanks. So, everyone say hello to Pack Romer. He's new here this evening. And, oh, Rambo does. Yeah, he is. He reminds me of my Dinah. They're about the same size, and she's um, I can't remember what kind of dog she is, but it's a family of the pit bull. So anyway, so I wanted to. I ran across. I don't know. I think I was listening to a podcast, and they were talking about how to stay positive and some different things. And the guy got to talking about the importance of prayer and how the benefits of prayer, even if you didn't have a religious affiliation, just the act of praying. And he talked a lot about that practice and how it had a positive impact on people's mental health. And I thought, well, that would be a good topic for our live. And so I kind of wanted to talk about that, and I kind of like to talk about things that have to do with mental health, because I work in the field of mental health or behavioral health or whatever you want to call it. And so some of the things that were cited about prayer is that um, it reduces stress, helps with anxiety, improves mood. It promotes a higher level of optimism, and it helps manage pain. I thought that was an interesting component. Talked a lot about a research study that they did on people that um, prayed and people that didn't pray to manage pain, and that the group that prayed had less pain and could tolerate pain. And I think pain, emotional pain or physical pain. So um, I think that that's very important. And, prayer is something that spans across um, several different religions and beliefs. So um, Paula said, I'd be lost without prayer. Isn't that the truth? Um, he also equated that it was similar to meditation, such as inducing relaxation. It helped with emotional regulation, promoted a sense of peace, provides comfort, also promoted a sense of connection. And in this research, I think the reason that it helped with pain. Um, Hi, Rosani. Is that it um, releases neurotransmitter, especially the neurotransmitter serotonin. And serotonin is responsible for our mood, for our appetite, and whether you have a calmness. If you have more serotonin, you feel calm and mellow, and if you have less serotonin, you feel irritable and agitated. It's and Serotonin a lot is a low serotonin is responsible for depression. So I thought that was very interesting, and I think that um, also it talked about that even if people weren't affiliated with any belief in God or religion, that prayer still helped. The act of praying, and I think I thought that was kind of interesting too. And I know that I heard a long time ago, and I've learned this, that I don't pray to change God's mind. I pray to change my mind, and that it's a regular practice that I have, and that you know, to connect with something greater than me. Um, and of course, I am a Christian, and I believe in praying to God. And um, and I can remember, I tried to find it. I think I probably cleaned it out and got rid of it, but I used to have this little notebook, and it was, about things that you were praying about, and it had, I mean, prayed for everything, and I thought you had to pray in a certain way and do it a certain way, and all of this sort of stuff, real ritualistic. And over the course of uh, self improvement and working on a connection to my spiritual side, I've learned that the best thing to do is to keep it simple, and to pray those simple prayers. Hi, Mike. Congratulations, Mike. Mike hit his 1,000K subscribers. I don't know if you did that today. I know I looked at it, I think yesterday, and you had um, 982. So congratulations. It is a milestone when you hit that. And um, but to make this a practice, I think meditation is also kind of a thing that spans a lot of um, different um, beliefs and different types of practices. And um, I equate that prayer is me talking to God, and meditation is me listening to God. So Rosani said prayer is a very personal experience. It is. It is very personal. And, um, I think that there are several different prayers that I've learned since I've been in recovery. Of course, I always heard Serenity prayer. It's right there on my wall over there. And the Serenity prayer. And then there's a prayer that I really like is the prayer of Saint Francis. Is that the one? It's I really do like this one. Lord, make me an instrument of thy peace where there is hatred. Let me sow love. Where there's injury, pardon. Where there's doubt, faith. Where there's despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. And where there is sadness, joy. O divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in the giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, and it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. I have always really uh, liked that prayer since I've been in recovery. And so, um, let's see. Hi, Peter. How are you doing? You've been putting out a lot of content. How's that going for you? It looks like it's working pretty good. So, um, who is it Paola? I'm not seeing anyone in the chat with that name. So, in giving, we receive. That's so true. I've always said you can't outgive God. So, there's some other things that was components of prayer. Because a lot of times we don't understand. And he made the comment to do first, understand later. It says, first we do, then we hear. I thought that was interesting. Keep it simple. The community aspects of prayer, even though you might not be affiliated with like an organized religion or a church or whatever, you still feel connected when you pray. And it's bigger than yourself. And then prayer separates pain from suffering. We all suffer in life. I mean, life happens, and it causes us to have some suffering, but we don't have to feel the intense pain with that. We can embrace it and process it, and prayer helps with that. So Peter's catching us up on his update. Says Peter said, today I've been working on my content for the next 2 weeks. It has been crazy. In 2025, my channel got 1,700 views. In the last 14 days, it has gotten over 1,200 views. Insane. That's fabulous, Peter. Way to go. Way to go. So, Peter said, and I know why it has gotten those views, and it has been done in a sustainable, creator-friendly way, which I will be addressing in a video coming up soon. Great, great. Kind of have a system and a plan, and that's important to stay connected. And I think, you know, um, and we hear it all the time, to stay authentic, be yourself, be authentic. And that's it takes some practice to get there, and it takes, but when you do, you kind of get into the flow, and things tend to be easier, and better. So that's great, Peter. You know, um, I'm real happy for you. Yes, yes. So, any others of y'all got any going on? Peter said, "Oh yes, and I'm not gatekeeping anything. I will be sharing everything with everybody. We learn together. We grow together. We grow together. That is so true. Um, Gatekeeping backfires, and that we should encourage and promote each other on here, Uh, well, and not just here on YouTube, but in our lives, promote each other. Um, and so, Kimberly, that her channel, Spouse Wife, praying outdoors in nature makes me feel closer to God. My friend taught me that. She hikes in the woods and I sit on my back porch. I think that's so true. There is such connection to nature, and I know that um, I don't know. I have, places that, like when we vacation, we go to Roaring River, Missouri, and it's, in the summer and it's green and that crystal clear water that's ice cold, and you can see the trout and just the trees, and it's just beautiful. And yeah, I can connect to God. It seems nature, there's a lot of a closer connection. Peter said, and there may be a surprise appearance on a certain Friday live stream. Oh, won't be a surprise anymore. You already clued us in, Peter. It will be exciting. Oh, so and I know that there's several scriptures that talk about prayer, and um, some of my uh, some of y'all know my story, but James 5:16 says, "Confess your faults one to another and pray one for another, that ye may be healed." And then it says, "The effectual, fervent prayer of a righteous man availeth much." And I really that um, struggled with that. The effectual, fervent prayer of a righteous man availeth much, because I didn't feel like I was very righteous, and who was I to pray if I wasn't righteous? And righteous, it means living in right standing with God. But as I began to work on myself and to look at my beliefs and challenge my beliefs, and some of those, I realized that I don't have to do anything to be righteous, that except believe that on Jesus, and that's all it takes, and that makes me righteous. Thank goodness. And I think that uh, I began to feel like that my prayers were not in vain, and they weren't just hitting the ceiling. And then I pray different today. Um, Peter said, and there may be a surprise appearance. Oh, I already read that one. Peter said, Rosani, I have learned from people like Paula and Rhonda that prayer happens within our mind, anywhere, anytime. God is always listening. That is true, Peter. Anywhere, anytime, anyway. I have a friend that talks about, she's funny, but she talks about angry praying. And I so relate to this. It's like, you know, uh, you get, I call it, having a hissy fit. And I'm, okay, God, what are you doing here? I don't understand what's going on. And, you know, she calls it angry praying. So, um, yes, it is wonderful, Kimberly. It's a beautiful place. Um, so Peter said, we can pray in song and words and thoughts, walking, shower, anything. This is true. And I had the habit of worrying really bad. And someone told me that worrying is just praying for stuff you don't want to happen. And that helped me to not worry as much. I still can worry. Then I realize what I'm doing. If I spend as much time praying as I did worrying, and if I'm gonna pray, why should I worry about it? If I'm gonna worry about it, why pray? It's like, uh, and I know that a lot of songs are written from Psalms, which was a lot of Psalms in the Bible was David writing prayers to God, and he did some angry praying and some self pity praying and some, you know, um, oh, woe is me a lot. But he always came back around and said that he believed that he would be taken care of and that it would work out and be to whatever was the best for him. So um, I think that that's real important. Um, Another thing that I think I learned about prayer was it can be as simple as you get up in the morning and say help, and you go to bed at night and say thank you. And it can be that simple, just that simple. Peter said, the future is beyond our control. We can control the here and now. That is where change happens. If we can't control it, we don't need to stress about it. Pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. Yeah. And I think that we are going to have pain and suffering. I like to say that it's misery that's optional. You can be miserable. And I certainly have been through some very painful, very grievous things in my life, and I know that um, that is the one thing. Like you said, you can do anywhere, at any time, and in any way, and online. What you mean, Pack Romer? Online? You can pray online. You sure can. I've heard people pray on here. I've had people ask me to pray, and I ended up praying in live. But you know, um, and there's also even that scripture that talks about that as we can even get to the point to where in our state of grief and that sort of thing, that we don't know what to pray, and through groanings that the Spirit knows what we need. Live on. Okay, live on. Is that what you're saying? So I want to, I'm going to read something here in a little bit I have a book, me and my books. I like to talk about books. It's an old book. It's God Calling. And this book here is some of the original writings of the two nuns in the 30s that wrote God, the God Calling. And this author Russell took their writings and put them in this book. This is the original God Calling. And I had to have an IBN number to order it. And the history behind this, about the readings, they're dated, is that the early people in the Oxford groups that was a Christian movement out of Akron, Ohio, used this book. And and those AA's foundings came out of that Oxford group, and they used this book as their devotional book in the 30s. The AA people did, until they wrote their own literature. And a lot of the literature that is in early literature of Alcoholics Anonymous has quotes out of this book, this writing by the two nuns. And so there's a really good reading on prayer that I'm going to read here in a minute. It is a printed book that I don't even know when it was published. Let me see. This printing was in 1993, but it is compiling of the writings by two nuns from the 1930s. Paola. Is that your name, Packromer? Paola? So it's just a printing. They have today, they have a lot of people have written God Calling. And it's some people don't like this printing for some reason, but it's very, very powerful. Zarmas. And you're from Pakistan? Is that what you said? I believe. You're from Pakistan. Yeah. I lived in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia for a year. So I met a lot of people from Pakistan. And so, and I think Dr. Ninja Turtle, were you not in Saudi Arabia too? I think we have. Okay, I can't pronounce all that. Northern areas, Gilgit, Baltistan. Okay. You were there 2.5 years. I was there for a year. So where were you in Riyadh? I was in Riyadh. Hello, Catherine. How are you? Glad you're here. You're just on time. Probably fixing to have a really good conversation. So, yes. So, and I know that, living in the Middle East, they pray 5 times a day. And we would hear prayer call that it was impressive. So, where did you live, Daryl? It was a mountaintop. It must have been more on the west side where the mountains were. What was the name of? Was it by the Red Sea? Riyadh's kind of right in the middle. Went to Riyadh, traveled over to Dhahran. So went to Bahrain. What is the name of that? It starts with a J. Anyway, so and I don't know if any of y'all know Senior Insights. And she first edition copy of that God Calling book sold on eBay for $280 in December of last year. Really? Wow. I've had mine since 1996, I think. And it's a reprint. It was, what does it say? It's a updated edition. and it is pretty well marked up and tagged and all this sort of stuff because I've used it, all those years. You went snorkeling in Riyadh. Yeah. Oh, Catherine made a playlist. She's telling you, Dr. Ninja, the Robin Hood of YouTube. You have many names. His real name is Daryl. So everyone's saying, "Hey, Red, what's up? Got them high heels." I can't wear high heels anymore. It's so sad. Oh. Oh, he'd ask you and you figured it out. There's some sunglasses and a purse and some heels. Yeah. But Senior Insights, Cynthia, she had hip surgery. So when I had my first hip surgery, I had a friend made me a apron like the waitresses wear and decorated it to put on my walker. So I had her make her one and I sent it to her. So I got a thank you card and she painted it with her watercolors. Isn't that cool? I'm going to have to frame it. And of course, I had some little cherries for her cherries in the snow in it. It was such a cute little thank you card, but I was now, famous. I have the famous Cynthia's watercolors. Now I need to get one from Evie. I can display them in my office. And what's up, Red? What you been doing? Catherine said no heels for me anymore. Mike said hello, Red's room. Um, Red said hello to spouse wife and Paula. Everyone's saying hello to each other. Okay. Catherine said, also ask about your land in Arkansas. Lived in Arkansas too, Catherine. And where I was talking about earlier, Roaring River, Missouri is just north of Eureka Springs, Arkansas. We go there every year and spend a whole week in a weekend. Peter said, I tried heels once. I'm not a fan. Stepped outside, nearly broke an ankle. That's when I decided when women are masochist. LOL. Okay. Taif, Saudi Arabia. Yeah. Mrs. G, you made it. You're right on time. We already talked about prayer, though. You just have to pray for me anyway. Red said, just turned on the phone and saw you live. Yeah, I go live every Wednesday night at 7 o'clock. And we meet here and we usually end up talking about all kinds of stuff. Hey, Kristen, how are you doing? I got you on my list to call. I was going to call you today and I had too many clients. So, Evie, and I get here late every time. Well, you missed it because I was talking. Cynthia sent me a thank you card, and it's a little watercolor she painted. I'm going to have to frame it. And I said, now I just need one of Evie's, and then I'll feel like I have arrived. I can frame them both and put them up. Oh, so everyone's saying hello to everyone. Peter said, Evie, you already know things. Don't start until you get here. LOL. That's right. When Evie arrives, then we're ready to party. Red saying hello to Kristen. Kristen, you need to hook up with Red's Room TV. He is a supporter of other channels. And I may have to give you a swift kick in the caboose to make some more videos. So we got a new member in the house, in the club, up in the club. Is Pack Romer. And so everyone say hello to him. And you think you're doing your videos wrong. Why do you think that? They're, uh, you just make them. Rosani said, hey, hi, anyone that I may have missed. Pack sending flowers. You're prepping for bed? So do you just do YouTube, or do you have other work that you do? Kristen says, hi everyone. Kristen said, I think I'm trying to be someone I'm not. I just need to be me. Yeah, that's the learning curve. When you first start out and you listen to all these other people, and then you finally realize that just be authentic and just be yourself. And so and it, you just get better at making the videos after you make videos. So Dora, Explora Dora, she says, hi everyone, just at work and creeping in to say hi and show my support. Thank you. Are you packing to go to Bali? Oh, your getaway. You hop that plane and you get away, huh? Even though you crash. Yeah. We were on live the other day. We got to ragging on Red about crashing his plane. I mean, Mrs. G. And so, oh, let's see. Peter said to Kristen, there is no right way to make videos. Chester Bennington said, all I want to do is be more like me and be less like you. That's so true. And you know what? Who is it? Wild? Can't remember his first name. Says, might as well be you. Everybody else is taken. And my tagline is just be you on purpose. So, Catherine said, I'm being me. It's not working. Well, God's working behind the scenes. Dora said, hi, Rhonda and everyone. Oh, Kristen said, yes, Evie. Mrs. G said, Dora, hey, girl, hey. Mike said, hey, Dora. Peter said, hey to Dora. Oh, you work full-time early mornings. Okay. You're still working, but mad packing this afternoon. Yeah. Yeah. I know you leave the next day because it's already Thursday there. So you're leaving on Friday, right? You need to go look at everyone's channels. Yes. Explorer says, good day, Peter. Good day, mate. 2 crashes in one day, Red. Oh, what a catastrophe. Man, did it up big. If you're going to do it right, do it up big, right? Uh, Dora said, hello, Rosani, your little paper dolls are so cool. Evie said, Kristen, I used to walk about a half a mile and turn the camera on all sweaty, but I was relaxed. So Pack said, okay, host and everyone, take care. We'll see you next live. I'm sleeping now. Take care. Bye. Bye, Pack. Thanks for coming in. Bye. Dora asked, Evie, how are you, lovey? Mrs. G. Red is working on getting his pilot's license renewed. It probably got revoked if he crashed 2 planes in one day. Like I said, I was too busy looking for my flotation device. No, Debbie, I haven't seen Debbie Sue. There's Catherine. Hello, Catherine. Spouse. Bye, Zermus. Dora saying hi to Gina. Oh, Red has to be reassessed. Christian said, okay, thank you for all the advice. I'm going to get out of this car and go make a video. You do that. Just make it. Quit worrying about all the other stuff and just make it. Okay, Mrs. G say, yes, nephew. I've been causes a lot of panic in the skies. Peter said, word on the YouTube grapevine is Red's room TV flights start with no landing gear and only one wing to save time going through the crashes. He doesn't serve any food on his flights, just drinks. I wanted peanuts. Dora said she saw Debbie Sue earlier. Hello, Catherine. Red said, really, Auntie? Paula said, hello, Red. Retired Red? Do we have two Reds in the house? Oh, Red said, don't start, Paula. Yes. Catherine said, Debbie Sue's busy getting ready for her husband's surgery and talking about prayer. We need to keep them in our prayers. There's a lot of people that are in my, and that's another thing about prayers. You get in a group and you begin to hear about people and their struggles and I remember to pray for those people and it, like I said, it's not to change God's mind, it's to change my mind, change me, my attitude and my outlook, and to get outside of myself. I don't pray a whole lot for myself. I have a memorized prayer that I pray. It's called the third step prayer, and I pray it every morning. And it's just about me being of service to God. So both Reds are here. Well, this is a mighty fine red evening then. That's pretty cool. All right, Miss Dora, you have a great, yes, we're going to be watching you from Bali. Going back to work. Paula said, Red's room, I've been good. Red's room says, hey, retired Red. Evie said, I had a title last summer that was something like, I have something to say to Catherine. We have two Catherines, two Reds. So Evie said, okay, thanks, Catherine. He has to have some sort of surgery. And it's just, she said, they had to be prepared to stay overnight, but probably would just be there. So, yeah, we are at Dora. We already talked about Mike getting his 100 subs. Yay. So, he's happy dancing. Yeah, Evie, Mike got his 1K. So, oh, Dr. Ninja Turtle said, Catherine, fabulous 60s. I just commented on your first video. Good. Mike's 1K. Yes, celebration, Paula. Explorers doing the dance. Yes. Catherine said, Evie, yes, she said she wouldn't be on much. So, yes, 1,000 is a huge milestone. Dora said, I got to go, but it's always nice to be here. Thanks for joining us. Mike said, thanks, everyone. Bye, Dora. Way cool, Mike, said Catherine with a C. Thanks, everyone, for helping me get here. Retired Red said, congratulations, Mike. Mrs. G said, yes, and Red has no food. You've been causing panic and people are afraid to board Ninja Airlines. Goga is the president, and even he is weary on hopping on your plane. That's bad news, nephew. Hate to hear that. Hate to hear that. So, anyway, I don't have airlines. I don't fly nowhere. That's too much tech stuff to learn how to rate another live. And, just, I don't know. It's content, Auntie. Well, it's fun. Whatever it is, it was fun the other day. We were talking about crashing the plane. So anybody else have their experience that they want to share in the chat about prayer? It certainly has been an important part of my journey of self-improvement. I used to pray, but it was all, I told God what I wanted him to do, and he didn't do it, so I was mad half the time. And that's not necessarily what prayer is about to me anymore. Isn't that true, Evie? Evie said, I pray for God's will. I learned the hard way. I am not in charge. That's a joke about taking off my junior God badge. And that's what I do, is pray for God's will. I might ask for certain things, but always. Mike said, even when you're going through hard times, I still pray and thank God for everything I have. Yes. Isn't that, what is it? All right. I'm going to read some more. Philippians 4:6. Be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving. Let your requests be made known unto God. And the peace of God, which pass all understanding, shall keep your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus. And that's, I think, with prayer, we always get the peace. He doesn't promise. Well, he does. He does. It says, therefore I say unto you, whatever things you desire when you pray, believe that you receive them, and you shall have them. So, all right, prayer is two-way conversation, but we need to listen more than we talk. That's true. That's true. Catherine, yep, I always try and help God. He doesn't need it. I know. He does just fine running the universe without me telling him how. Oh, so Evie said, when I was a kid, I would have never walked a room with my parents and tell them how things are going to be. But somehow when I pray, I expect to take control. Not anymore, though. Yeah. Paula said, that's my favorite verse. Therefore I say, is that Mark 11:24, Paula? But often we forget 25 and 26, which says right after that. And when you stand praying, forgive if you have anything against any, that your Father also who in heaven may forgive you your trespasses. But if you do not forgive, neither will your Father who is in heaven forgive your trespasses. So there's a stipulation to that. Whatever things you desire when you pray, believe that you shall receive them. And you should stand and do that with no unforgiveness in your heart. And, I know that I work with a lot of people that have resentments. And, you can't build a resentment unless you first judge and condemn somebody. So, Mrs. G said, Catherine, ain't that the truth? We think we know better than God does, and we want the results right away. We do. And, when a lot of times, because I I speak and I tell my story and I talk about, kind of the relationship with my kids and wanting God to change my kids or do something with that. And I tell a story about, God has a filing cabinet in heaven with my name on it. And in that filing cabinet, there's folders of things in my life. And say that I'm praying for God to do work on my older son. And so one day God ups and decides he's going to do something. Let's work on Rhonda's son today. So he sends the angel over to my filing cabinet, and the angel looks and looks and goes back to God and all hanging his head and sad. And he says, God, we can't do that today. Rhonda has the file. So that story helps me to, if I can keep the file at the filing cabinet, so that when God is going to work in my life, that he has the file to do it. And I find that so true. When I release the control and I surrender, then that's when God works. Some things you have no control of. I was told that I could stand in a hula hoop, and everything outside of that hula hoop I had no control over. And everything inside the hula hoop I had control over, which was me, you know. And file the paperwork, Rhonda. That's right. I try to do that. And I know that there's, even in other, like, if you get into, if you study anything about manifestation, that's the one thing they tell you, that you have to release it. That there's no attachment to the outcome, and I think that that's so true. So, hey, you're stealing it. Dr. Ninja Turtle said he's stealing it. Well, you can just do that. I'll let you. Mrs. G said, OMG, patience is a tough one. Hello, Pam. She said, hello, I'm trying to stay out of the conversation outside with Dylan and the roofing guy who's looking at the sorry mess that is our roof after the windstorm. Did you have a windstorm today? Everyone's saying hello to Pam. It was 100, well, whatever that is, KM winds here on the weekend. Is that about 60 mile an hour? I have not a clue. Kilometers, what is that? Catherine said she's sorry about your roof, Pam. So did Mrs. G. Pam saying hello to everyone. Yeah, we had high winds today, but they weren't gusts of 30 mile an hour. So, and they were pretty bad, but 60. We can have, during storms, up to 80 or 90 mile an hour wind without any tornado or anything. And so it's getting that time of year that, so I'm going to read out of my old book that's worth a lot of money. This original God Calling. It's on May 18th. It says, I would have you entreat me. There's that word, Red. It's an old word. I would have you entreat me often, because I know that only in earnest supplication and the calm trust that results do you learn strength and gain peace. Therefore, I have laid incessant, persistent pleading as duty upon my disciples. Never weary in prayer. When one day a man sees how marvelously his prayers have been answered, he will deeply, so deeply regret that he prayed so little. Prayer changes all. Prayer recreates. Prayer is irresistible. So pray literally without ceasing. Pray until you almost cease to pray, because trust has become so rock-like. Then pray on, because it has become so much a habit that you cannot resist. Always pray until prayer merges into praise. That is the only note on which true prayer should end. It is the love and laughter of your attitude toward others, interpreted in your attitude in prayer as praise toward God. That is pretty powerful stuff. Pray until it turns into praise. That's um, pretty phenomenal. And so um, I know that my community is a praying community, and there's a lot of us in here that need prayers. And I know that I have several people in this community in my prayers. I know Pam, you and your daughter, the struggle with your daughter and your son. I pray for you and her as she struggles with her health, and Debbie Sue and her health and her husband. And I have my accountability partner, and I pray for her every day. So there's and I think that you can throw out a blanket prayer. God bless all of those that um, I ask for a hedge of protection sometimes for some of y'all, uh, and that's where the connection is, because it's like you know um, our roots go deep, and we connect, and we intertwine, and we can lift each other up. And there's a lot of things that I personally can't do, but I can pray. And I love that song. um, Looks, what is it? Looks like somebody prayed. It's a great song. I forget who it's by. I don't know. Red's still listening. You still listening to me preach? I'm entreatying everybody. I am calling on y'all with urgency, comfort, and care to pray. And I sometimes I'm gonna look it up. Somebody prayed by Crowder. Nope. Nope. You can't do it. I get a copyright. It is by Crowder, and it's called Somebody Prayed. And it's a great song. Preach it, Rhonda. Get my Jimmy Swagger finger going. Evie said, I start my prayers with thanksgiving for the simple things we take for granted. Mostly I'm not awake in the morning before I read my Bible. And that's, I think, what is it? Somebody asked me one time, I was just slapped in the face. What if all you had left today in your life was what you thanked God for yesterday? I was like, oh, okay. So Catherine with the C said, Evie, yes, I always thank God for each day when I wake up. Yes. Yes, I do. Um, Mrs. G said, nephew, go to bed. You have to get up early. You better go night night, Red. That's what I tell my dogs. Y'all ready to go night night? May just run off to their kennel because they know they're going to get a treat. Bribery. It works. So we have actually made it an hour. I don't know how that happens. How does that happen? It just goes by quickly. Um, so anyway, how many's left in here? There's 12 of you. Spouse wife said, somebody prayed for me, had me on their mind, took the time to pray for me. I'm so glad they prayed. I'm so glad they prayed. I'm so glad they prayed for me. Yes. Oh, there's an Amber Alert. All my stuff's going off. So, oh, well, Red, you going night night? Are you laying down? You got your earbud in? You listening? So, you want me to read some more? Read you a night night story? Evie said, I'm hearing the same alert here. Yeah, it's Austin, Texas. So, yeah. Mrs. G said, see, Rhonda, this is a nice crowd. You got to learn the raid technique soon. Okay, but yeah, it takes time to learn stuff. Right now, I am doing some research and studying about neuroscience and about the nervous systems and that sort of thing. I have a real interest in that and an interest in because it's my belief that it's your beliefs that are everything. Whatever you believe is, you know, if you believe you're too old, you'll be too old and won't be able to do stuff. If you believe you can't do YouTube, then you won't be able to do YouTube. If you believe that, you've got to have a certain thing to be a certain way, or, it's just because that those beliefs, and so often they're not even your beliefs. They're programmed there by the caregivers, parents, whoever in your childhood. And if you don't ever challenge them, and so often people never really do. And, those beliefs drive that inner critic, and you repeat the same patterns over and over again. And people don't understand why they repeat a pattern, but it has to do with some sort of belief. And so, you know, but nothing soon. Okay, Mrs. G, are you going to walk me through it? Yes. You know, what is the one? Be careful of your thoughts, for they shall become your words. Be careful of your words, for they shall be, you know. And that's it. Paula said she believed she could, so she did. And isn't that, wasn't it Ford that said, if you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you can't. So Kimberly says, as your faith is, so be it unto you. It is in the Bible, but I forget chapter and verse. Evie said the 141-year-old book has a lot of scripture in it, and I'm amazed how the parents always talk about God to their children. Things were different in 1884. Yeah, Evie's reading this book from 1884, and she's painting little things on the pages. I think that is so cool. I saw the thing where you talked about that you're reading that older book, but Mrs. G said the little engine that could. Yes. But so often we don't ever challenge our beliefs, and we're not aware that we believe that. I know that it's. I'm kind of formulating a video. I'm working on editing the video where I went to Fort Worth and met with Nancy in making my own lane. So, spouse wife said Luke 1:45. Blessed is she that believed. I got it tattooed on my arm, so I remember that one. Yes, but it's those beliefs, and it says in the Bible that it's by the renewing of our mind, and that's where the self improvement So many people don't slow down long enough to self-evaluate and to look at what they think, what they believe, but it sure comes out in their words, you know. And you can listen to somebody, or I can, and some of that is my profession and fine tuning that. I can listen to them and pretty much tell you what they believe and what they say to themselves. So I do, and that's amazing. And Evie said, "Do you ever think about how pure Mary was in her faith to be chosen to be Jesus' mother?" Evie said, "I would not have been chosen." Me either, Evie. As a man thinketh, so is he. Yes. It says, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. It's in Proverbs, I believe. But that is so true. And people say, well, how does that affect my, you know, like what happens? But it's self-fulfilled prophecy. You was it that they said here, views a positive view about aging in your 30s added 7.5 years longevity to your life if you had a positive attitude about aging. And the reason is because if you have a positive attitude about that, then you end up doing behaviors different, causes a different outcome. And, it's like if you think that I don't have anything important to say, so you don't make a YouTube video or you don't speak up in a meeting. And if the continual not speaking up in a meeting and not having the confidence, you get passed over for the you know the job that jump up in the job. So it does, there is a direct correlation, and it's called self-fulfilled prophecy. Catherine said, back, had to go brush my dog's teeth. It's a ritual around here. Okay. So anyway, thank y'all for joining me tonight. It's been a good live. I always enjoy y'all's input, and I so appreciate you showing up here and spending an hour on Wednesday evening with me of your week. Evie said, a big deal for me was stopping people from using the Lord's name in vain. Yeah, yep. Mrs. G, I was having a negative thought for a long time until I made up my mind and decided to launch out and start YouTube. Yeah. Evie said, I would say, what did my father do to you? Yeah. I used to tell them, I know him, when they'd say, you know, when they would use Jesus Christ. I'd say, I know him. So you're very welcome, Mike. It was my pleasure. And I will pray for all of y'all. There's Kentucky Life with Debbie. Hello, Debbie. You've been in my prayers. We talked about prayer. I've prayed for God to give you comfort through this time of your grief. Yes. Thank you, Retired Red. Thank you for showing up. So you're very welcome, Kimberly. And so I want all of y'all to have a good evening. And looks like somebody prayed. Bye.